when we came up here to New Hampshire and you and I stood together to say to the national establishment of both parties, turn around, you're going the wrong way. We may have lost that nomination, my friends, but you and I have won the battle for the heart and soul of the Republican Party.
That was Pat Buchanan from 1995 in New Hampshire. And in many ways, he did claim the heart and soul of the Republican Party and pave the way for Donald Trump. Welcome back to The World Over Live. Trump is the GOP presumptive nominee. But could a third-party challenge be on the horizon? And how will the Democrats deal with their ongoing primary fight? Few are more qualified to analyze all of this than my guest tonight. He's a syndicated columnist, former advisor to 3 U.S. presidents, a 2-time presidential candidate, and author of The Great Comeback. Please welcome back to the program, Pat Buchanan.
Good to see you.
Great to see you, Pat. Now, you heard that clip.
Right.
You must be smiling a little bit today. Do you think you are the John the Baptist of Donald Trump?
Who would that make Donald Trump?
I'm not getting into that one. I'm just using an analogy.
No,
the voice crying in the wilderness is what I was after.
I do think that Donald Trump, I think he's come independently on his own to the issues of securing the border, stop the mass immigration into the country, no more of these trade deals that are deindustrializing America, and for heaven's sake, stay out of these wars where no vital interests are engaged that cost us so much in blood and treasure. And these were the issues Buchanan ran on. And I think what Trump has succeeded so well is what we predicted and what we said was going to happen has come to pass. There are now 12 million illegals in the country, not 3 or 4. All over the country, you've got towns and cities that have experienced deindustrialization, loss of factories and jobs. And so when he says these trade deals were worthless, he's got something to point to prove. He's got the proof of it. We predicted it was going to happen, and it came to pass. And Donald Trump is getting the benefit of it because he went out and said these things.
Where the right went wrong, Pat. How long ago did you write that book?
I wrote that in 2004, I believe. Yeah.
And you think he's reaping the benefits?
What he's doing, he's hitting the populist nationalist issues that differentiated Buchanan conservatism from, if you will, neoconservatism or the traditional conservatism. That's right, and those are the issues he's ridden. But his crowds are enormous. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about the tens of thousands and even the scores of thousands.
But has he won the heart and soul of the party? You mentioned earlier that at that time you said, we've won the heart and soul of the party. Has Donald Trump done that?
I don't think he has yet. But I do think he's got a vast majority of the party is reconciled to his nomination now, and it's going to work for him. I think something like 75% now is reconciled, and he's brought an enormous number into the party, or into the primaries. You've had the largest turnouts in the history of primaries, and he's won them going away. There's a real potential if they can pull the traditional Republican conservatives and even the establishment, drag them kicking and screaming, put them together with these populists and nationalists. Quite frankly, that's the making of a new majority like we created with Richard Nixon in 1972.
Oh, and you've been writing about in recent days. I want to play something for you and for the audience. Talking about influence, listen to this.
We are losing industries like autos and steel. We have lost TVs, VCRs, radio. The Japanese are putting under assault supercomputers, flat panel technology. They are challenging our aircraft industry. Where is the administration plan to make America first again in manufacturing by the year 2000?
My foreign policy will always put the interests of the American people and American security above all else. Has to be first. Has to be. That will be the foundation of every single decision that I will make. America first will be the major and overriding theme of my administration.
Why is he embracing the Buchanan doctrine, and why is it playing better than it played in 92 or 96 or 2000, Pat? What's the difference?
There's a number of differences. One is we've been deindustrialized. In the first decade of this century, we lost 6 million manufacturing jobs, 55,000 factories. Every state, every county almost has seen a company been destroyed by massive imports. Secondly, Donald Trump, frankly, is an enormously large figure, and he has hit this issue at exactly the right time. Everybody's ignored it. The whole Beltway completely did not understand the power of the issue. It's economic patriotism, as Russell Kirk told me to use, instead of economic nationalism. And that is the issue that he's tapped into. And quite frankly, this is the one he is really riding. That and border security, America first. When that phrase came over the TV, members of my immediate family were texting each other and emailing each other, Pat must be in pig heaven.
Well, I was emailing you saying, when do the royalty checks from the Trump organization arrive at the Buchanan house? Any day now, I hope. Now,
anyway, I was delighted, really delighted to hear it and see him stand up for it and not be cowed and bullied. This is one thing he's got going for him, too. He defies political correctness, sometimes maybe going too far, and then he refuses to apologize. And the whole country wants this establishment, this city, slapped down. And he's doing it.
It comes at the right time. Yeah, the pain has increased a lot more than when you were
Oh, far more. See, that's there. Also, the returns are in from these wars.
Yeah.
And they're terrible.
Terrible. He met with your old pal, Henry Kissinger, another member of the Nixon cabinet.
Mr. Dayton himself.
That's right. What do you make of that? Is that a wise decision? Is that Trump trying to bring in the establishment in the Republican Party?
I think he did the right thing. It shows a courtesy. You go visit the people from the past, and it shows a willingness to come together, and you even ought to come together with the establishment. And I don't believe Henry, who's well into his 90s now, is going to influence Donald Trump, but he will try really to get him off these themes that we've got to get NATO countries to start paying their own way. These allies have to do more to defend themselves. That economic and that foreign policy nationalism, Henry will warn him about that. That's the differences Henry and I had. Matter of fact, I'm writing about it in my present book.
Your new book.
On the Nixon days, yeah.
Has Trump reached out to you? Have you met with him?
I have not met with him, but I've talked to him once or twice. He has phoned and been very gracious about various things I've written and some things he's seen me on TV. And he once saw me, I think, on CNN. He was tweeting, Buchanan's great or something. On TV, the host went on TV. Well, we seem to have gotten Trump's attention.
In real time, because they're watching the Twitter feed. Well,
yeah.
He's an instant audience. Now, at the same time, you're talking about Trump resonating with this audience in the particular place they are. There is still a sizable chunk of the Republican establishment in this town, Bill Kristol, Mitt Romney, Senator Ben Sasse, who are holdouts, and they're still saying, Eric Erickson, never Trump, never Trump.
Well, look,
and they're threatening a third party. You've run as a third party candidate. Will it work? What should they be doing at this point?
No, it won't work. Look, President Bush, father and son, both are not endorsing Trump, and neither is Jeb Bush, despite his pledge. And Romney, I understand that if they say we just can't endorse, and I've got such disagreements. But the idea of putting out a third-party ticket, the only effect of that, the only result of that will be to sink Trump and elect Hillary Rodham Clinton and have her replacing Justice Scalia and maybe 2 or 3 more justices. That is the end of any effort to overturn Roe v. Wade. That is the end of any effort to end affirmative action. Obamacare will be forever. I can't understand. I can understand how people may say, I can't stand Trump, et cetera. But I don't understand how you can try to create a situation which will bring him down and automatically elect Hillary Clinton. And this is what they're doing. And I think Romney's making a terrible mistake in doing this. And frankly, there's no way a third-party candidate who is a Republican or a conservative can get anything other than Republican and conservative votes. And splitting the Republican-conservative vote, who automatically benefits from that?
Yeah. You know, I want to show you this and share this with the audience. This is the latest Fox News poll. It has Trump leading Clinton 45 to 42%. Now, Pat, these polls fluctuate. This is like weekly polls. Who knows?
I saw one today that had him ahead by 5.
Okay, and what do you think of this?
I think that Hillary Clinton is in deep, deep trouble. I am surprised, very surprised. I thought Trump could close the gap, but that he appears to have closed it in May is astonishing.
But wait a minute, but Pat, he has basically cinched the nomination. There's no other. Ted Cruz and Kasich are gone. She's still battling. No, but she's still battling it out with Bernie, and his supporters are still sticking by him. So once she gets the nomination formally, might those numbers tighten up, or could she surpass Trump?
No, I agree with you. I think they will tighten. I'm just surprised to see Trump ahead right
Pulling
now.
ahead, yeah.
Pulling ahead right now. I do think she will do better, but I think Bernie is going all the way to that convention. He says he's going to fight it to the last delegate, and he is damaging her. And frankly, I thought she was, incidentally, was an outstanding candidate after she lost 12 primaries and came back, won Pennsylvania and Ohio. And I said, you know, whether you like her or not, you got to admire this comeback. She's not as good a candidate anymore. She's, excuse me, she's extremely shrill at times. Maybe it's because they picked the tapes and put them on the air, but you know, you're in the other. What? I thought my cat had come back to life.
Oh, no.
No, it's really, it's very loud and shrill, and it does not come off well.
Yeah, she's been shouting a lot.
And Bill's not looking good. He's not in the peak of health either.
Well, and Trump invoking all of Bill's indiscretions and, you know, over the last 20 years, that has sort
when we
of
were kids,
put him away, right?
Kids on Thanksgiving Day, if it was raining real badly, we all went up to Chevy Chase Pleasant playground and got into a mud bowl. It was called, so you wouldn't hurt yourself, but everybody was in the mud playing tackle football. That is what this campaign is going to be about. It is going to be the greatest mud bowl in American history.
Who do you think wins in the end?
I think Trump can win. See, I don't think, I agree with you on Hillary. If the Democratic Party is, again, a larger party than ours, but I do think Trump has the potential to reach folks in places like Pennsylvania, in places like Michigan, in states Republicans haven't gotten in 6 elections.
Because of the appeal to the workers and the
appeal to the blue-collar folks, and he also, I mean, Bernie is getting these folks who are deeply dissatisfied with the Democratic Party, that abandoned them and is elitist and, you know, over-intellectualized. And
yet, here's what Hillary Clinton said earlier today. She's presuming she's got this thing tied up.
Right.
Roll that.
I will be the nominee for my party, Chris. That is already done, in effect. There is no way that I won't be. I went all the way to the end against Senator Obama. I won 9 out of the last 12 contests. Back in 2008, I won. But we both were following the same rules, just as both Senator Sanders and I are following the same rules. And I'm 3 million votes ahead of him, and I have an insurmountable lead in pledged delegates.
She said she has an insurmountable lead. It's done.
I think she's going to win it. I think it is done. Absent celestial intervention, I think she's got the nomination. But I think Bernie's going to be heard from between now and then. I think there's a possibility Bernie could win California, which would be an immense blow to her. One of her real problems is the millennial generation, the young people. She's doing horribly. I mean, young people all feel the burn and all the rest of it. And so, there's a possibility, I think, that the mainly white working class folks in all those old industrial states who have been abandoned, they've gone with Bernie against Hillary. They're potential Trump voters, I believe.
But look in the matchup. Here's the Fox News poll. Bernie Sanders continues to beat Trump, 46% to 42%. And Bernie Sanders, rather, claims he's not going anywhere. He's continuing to hammer Hillary Clinton. What effect does this have? This is him yesterday at a rally in California. Watch this.
Secretary Clinton has a number of super PACs, and in the last filing period, reported receiving $15 million from Wall Street. Our job is to take on Wall Street, not to take their money.
Does that hurt Hillary Clinton?
Oh, it sure does. I feel the burn listening to that.
You're getting a little burn.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Sure.
Back in 1993, when I was fighting against NAFTA, I was on a radio station 3 hours a day, and we were battling NAFTA, and when I couldn't get some major guest in, I'd tell him, call up Bernie Sanders, and he would come on the air and he'd do a great job. He was battling NAFTA with Ralph Nader, Pat Buchanan, Ross Perot, and the head of the AFL-CIO.
Well, I've always said Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders in some ways are appealing to the same crowd, same audience.
That is, see, if Trump can bring that section, that Bernie brought in. He's going to have a tough time with the millennials. They may stay home. But if he brings in those working class folks again, you're talking Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, states we haven't carried in 6 or 7 elections. If you bring those, he's home.
Still, there's some unease out there, Pat, particularly among social conservatives.
Right.
There's unease about embracing Donald Trump. So he came out with a list of judicial picks the other day. He discussed it with Sean Hannity. Here's what he had to say.
As I said, Scalia and Thomas, they are what we call originalists, constitutionalists.
Correct.
You are a constitutionalist.
Correct. Correct. And I want high intellect. I want great intellect. These people are all of very high intellect. They're pro-life. Perhaps outside of the defense of our country, perhaps the single most important thing the next president is going to have to do is pick Supreme Court justices.
Do you trust him? And there are a lot of pro-life Catholics who are uneasy. They feel this is just another sales job. Is it?
No, I trust him for this reason. He knows where the Republican Party's heart is. He doesn't have any disagreement with people like Scalia. He knows how deeply we've admired him. And I think it's in his interest, in his political interest and his interest if he were president, to appoint people and do battle for people like Scalia, Thomas, Alito, and battle for those folks. And he knows that. Well, there's nothing in it for him moving left, appointing a Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So, as for and so he offered those 10 judges out there. Many of them were state Supreme Court judges. I don't believe I knew deeply about any of them. But it's a clear signal that, look, you are in it with us. I'm coming with you on this, entirely on the Supreme Court issue, which social conservatives care about deeply. Now, do I think deep inside him he's been a lifelong social conservative? It does not appear so.
Yeah. Well, Ronald Reagan, let's be fair. Ronald Reagan, whom you worked for, wrote speeches for, this is the man who signed the most pro-abortion bill in any state, the first one in the United States. I mean, if there was anybody who was unreliable, at least when he first ran,
he was also
on
the
paper.
First divorced man, I think, elected president of the United States. But, of course, I do believe Reagan was deeply converted. I used to sit at lunches with him. He'd come in, we'd have a senior staff lunch. He would say, let me read this. Ann Higgins had sent him a letter up, and it was some woman. She said, I had 3 children. My husband left me, and I was pregnant with my 4th. I was going to have an abortion. And now I'm in my 80s, and that 4th son is the one taking care of me. It was tremendously moving, but here's Reagan. All you staff fellows, sit down.
Listen up.
Listen up. It was a very moving thing. So I think Reagan was a conservative of the heart, and I think he was deeply converted, and partly by the assassination thing. Again, I was sitting in some of those meetings. He said, now, the rest of my time, it belongs to him. And he would point at the...
point at the big guy.
Yeah.
Do you think Donald Trump is a conservative of the heart?
I think, no, I would not say he's not I do think he understands these issues, and I do think he feels them. Well, let me say this in his defense. I do think he sees what's happening. He hears the audiences out there. These people are hurting. Nobody's representing. I'm going to represent them and really going to kick some folks around that come after you now. I think so in a way, he's a populist and a nationalist of the heart.
Yeah, no, and look, whether people like him or hate him, he has done something historically that no one else has been able to achieve for basically at bargain basement prices. Let's admit it. I mean, he hasn't spent anything near what his competitors did on this race.
It's been amazing, as 17 Republicans can tell you.
Pat Buchanan, I want to have you back soon. I hope you'll come back, and you can't wait to read the new memoir. Pat's latest, The Greatest Comeback, How Richard Nixon Rose from Defeat to Create a New Majority, is still in bookstores everywhere, and his latest about Nixon is coming up. That's going to be a barn burner.